Welcome to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 27th of January. I'm going to share some standout details to look forwards to, and there's lots of exciting celestial action this week. Then on screen, the event chart right at the start of the week that always provides an influential backdrop for the whole 7 days. As energies feed into the week, I'll go through each of those frame by frame to give you a really clear picture of what the week ahead holds for us all collectively. But then, please stay with me, I'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to share what you can expect in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. Thank you so much for joining me. Your support and all your views and interactions are absolutely fabulous. I really appreciate them. If you have any comments, please share them. This is very much a community. If you could help the channel to thrive, please do sub, but also click that bell notification symbol. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, I'm a consultant astrologer. Please see the link below. If you'd like to have a video consultation with me, I've introduced a 2-question format, but also can do solar returns. Please see the link below for those. Or if you want to have your digital reports delivered by email, I'm now offering a 50% off, a half-price deal. Please see those below. So the big news this week is that we do have that glorious Aquarius new moon on Wednesday. It's particularly influential, not just because it forges a great link to Jupiter, the planet of plenty, but also because Mercury is conjunct Pluto in Aquarius too. Now Mercury rules the second decan of this sign, Pluto's in Aquarius for the long term, so all this Aquarius energy, but also the fact that Uranus ends its retrograde on Thursday, which began at the start of September, Uranus being the modern ruler of the sign of Aquarius, is going to give this week the potential for a real movement forwards, especially where we can connect to one another, where we can have that instinctive network of the people who really help us to feel that we are part of some whole. But it doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't also celebrate our individuality, which can be a very Aquarius energy too. In fact, as we come into this week, Uranus is forging a dazzling alliance to Venus. Now Venus is also this week going to be connecting beautifully to Neptune and the North Node. If there is someone who you're finding to be very evocative, perhaps in a spiritual context, not necessarily romantically, that's a friendship that could strengthen this week too. But on the screen now, I'm showing the event chart at midnight on the 27th. And we can see the moon is still in the sign of Capricorn, but it's forging a semi-sextile to the sun. And of course, they're going to come into that conjunction in the middle of the week. But we must remember that the moon in Capricorn is very businesslike, and funnily enough, Mercury, which can be very much to do with business, is just at the end of its journey through the sign of Capricorn too. But if you recall last week, Mercury went into a direct confrontation with Mars in Cancer, which continues its retrograde. If we did feel a bit edgy last week, particularly around balancing work and home needs, it wouldn't be a surprise. But you can see that Mercury is very close to Pluto, and as the week goes on, that connection by the new moon will be total. And I feel that that can be great for transforming our thinking. But also you can see that conjunction between Neptune and the North Node, which will peak on the 7th of February. But Venus, as this week goes on, is going to work towards them. But as the week begins, that energy with Uranus is really very strong. So that's suggesting that we can use our instincts around some surprise financial moves. Venus is the planet of money as well as relating, and perhaps also old skills or talents can be repurposed in some kind of way. But despite the idealism of this Aquarius new moon this week, I think it's true to say that the energy in the sign of Pisces is asking us to be guided by our instincts. Also, just like to share that the position of the path of fortune, the North Node, and Mars creates a ground water trine as we go into this week. So that ability to allow our senses to influence our more logical decision making is a good counterbalance for the more detached energy that Aquarius can create. But what about Uranus? Well, since that retrograde began at the start of September, we have seen a certain amount of disruption in terms of financial markets. There have been some ups and downs. There have been some surprising gains in terms of digital currencies recently, perhaps because of Uranus coming to the end of its retrograde period. And the fact that it is forging such a strong alliance at the start of this week does suggest that anything to do with the novel but linked to the instinctive part of our nature, or using past experiences in that fresh way, is something to really be mindful of. But the big event of this week is undoubtedly the new moon. But it's worth understanding that the sun in Aquarius is detrimented because the sun rules the sign of Leo, which is the opposite sign to Aquarius. So in terms of a new moon, it could be argued that this is the weakest of the year. The moon in Aquarius can be very rebellious, can be very much about speaking out, particularly in terms of rights issues, anything to do with injustices. The sign of Aquarius is about higher truths. This is a new moon which is asking us to think beyond the material and physical realm. And because Jupiter, although it's very influential on this event, is detrimented and in retrograde in Gemini, as much as we can make some fine plans for the future, we can connect with like-minded people, forge those alliances, and think about our future hopes. We also need to make sure that we're realistic. But I think by the end of this week, because of those very sensory energies that are informing this week, and Uranus going direct on the Thursday, it is a chance to use the energy of Aquarius, which can be very much to do with pragmatism because of the co-ruler Saturn, but align it to those more progressive energies of Uranus. Now, please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. So Aries, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast suggests that you could feel particularly nostalgic for people that you used to have some kind of connection to on a group basis. Now that could be back to school days, college, a workplace where there was a really good team spirit, or perhaps it could be to do with someone you had a particular connection with in a more spiritual dimension. Doesn't have to be romantic. And that all comes to the boil as we have this new moon. Will it encourage you to reach out? Possibly. It may be that that situation, for whatever reason, is just something that just fills you with a great deal of nostalgia, but you're wanting to recreate those kind of opportunities now, and you can do so. Who you know is a very important thing, particularly professionally at this time. But I feel that because Jupiter in the part of your situation is emphasizing your local connections, there is the chance to revitalize your social interaction, but it probably requires you to take the first step. And that's where Saturn, being in your 12th house, could be a little bit of an inhibiting factor. Now, of course, Saturn's going to be arriving in your sign on the 26th of May for just over 3 months. Neptune's come in earlier, but you do have one more solar eclipse in your sign towards the end of March, which is going to give you a lot of extra confidence to seize the moment and get on the front foot. But the big lesson that I feel you've been gaining over the last couple of years, however dynamic or upbeat or friendly or fun your social circle is, you're needing something that's deeper, that's more meaningful. A soul connection, even if it is people you just want to hang out with around shared hobbies or interests, some kind of meet-up group, you still need to feel that it just is at ease. So that's an important thing to be guided by. Don't go against your sixth sense is the big issue this week. But if you are wanting to rejuvenate your social connections or think about your long-term future, this is a great week to set your intentions and to put things in motion. It's been great speaking with you, Aries. Have a wonderful week. If you've yet to check out your February deep dive video, please see the link beneath this one. So Taurus, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast begins with your ruler Venus in a gorgeous alliance to Uranus in your sign. Now Uranus has been a very provocative influence over the last few years, and to be honest, it may have been disruptive at times. But you get an opportunity with this connection to perhaps do something in a different way, to refresh the parts of your situation that can bring a sense of sparkle and exhilaration. Also, because as you begin this week, the moon's in your 9th house, along with Mercury, a travel plan may be part of this, and it could be linked to a friend or a group of people. So there is a buzzy energy as you come into the week. Now, of course, Uranus has been tracking backwards since the start of September. So if you have felt that your options at every turn have felt not quite suiting your situation, I feel that some of the frustration you've encountered can start to ease away. And ironically, the new moon is very much about goals and ambitions. Mercury moves on, it connects to Pluto. Your willpower, particularly if you're thinking of self-employment, applying for a new job, being much more ambitious about whatever it is that drives you, is really given a huge stage to catapult yourself forwards in a very, very powerful way. But that said, your sensitivity is also something that can be very important to you. So as much as you can make progress by being dynamic, confident, and telling people about the skills and resources you have to deal with perhaps the solutions they need, it will be how you attune to them that can be particularly impressive. So that part of your nature, because yours is a sign where the moon is exalted, which can be very good at reading the signals of a situation, is really going to be enhanced by the end of this week. And it may see you pick up on an opportunity before your rivals or competitors, but also help you to build the dialogue with someone influential in a way which can be good for them, but also for you. If you've yet to watch your deep dive February forecast, please see the link beneath this video. Gemini, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast suggests that change is in the air, and that old saying of change being as good as a rest may be calling out to you, but it could be around your professional situation. But equally, you may be pretty happy with your situation, but still be yearning for a bit more excitement. And the best way to achieve that on the back of this week's new moon is definitely by being spontaneous. But if you can be spontaneous but also tune into your instincts, the gathering of energy in Pisces is very strong this week. And Venus applying to the North Node and Neptune as the week goes on does also suggest professionally or around your worldly interactions, it's not just about the desire for some kind of change or travel or meeting new people. If you also listen to your instincts, that's going to take you in the direction. Right. So Gemini, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast is really exciting, not least because your ruler Mercury is going to be aligned to Pluto on the back of the new moon at the heart of the week. That suggests your intellect, your ideas, your way of conveying messages are given a wonderful platform to thrive. but also there could be part of you that does crave something of a change. And sometimes just doing something off the cuff and having a breakout moment from the regularity of life is just the tonic. But for you, it could be something more substantial, particularly around your professional situation. There's such a wonderful alignment towards the end of this week between Venus, Neptune and the North Node. If you're really guided by your inner voice, that could take you in a fresh direction, which proves to be absolutely perfect. But there's no doubt about it, if you are having discussions with people, talking about topics that really inspire you, or if you've got something to say, perhaps you have something you want to publish or broadcast, you can really get your message across with conviction, but also with a great deal of personality power. As the week draws to a close and Uranus ends its retrograde on Thursday, some of the tension which has been palpable in your situation since the time that Uranus moved into Taurus in March 2019 full time can just ebb away a little bit. The last 5 months Uranus has been going backwards. If you have been finding it harder to sleep, if there has been an excess of nervous energy that no amount of exercise ever seems to quite quell, things can just settle down a little bit. But this is a week that if you want to plan a travel, higher educational course, or any other plan which just sees you trying something new, daring, perhaps more adventurous, perhaps even asserting your independence in some ways, it will be like a breath of celestial magic for you. If you've yet to watch your deep dive February forecast, please see the link beneath this video. Cancer, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast could see you still processing the energy from last week's opposition between Mercury and Mars in your sign. Now, Mercury in the 7th house gives us an opportunity to be a bit more dispassionate when people see things differently. But I feel that you may have experienced a degree of frustration if someone wasn't really tuning into your situation, and you may have had to assert a boundary. Now, the ramifications for that may still be playing out. The 8th house energy of this week, the 8th house can be about change. It can be about very positive change. If you're an entrepreneurial Cancer and you want to get a new venture off the ground, this can be the ideal week to do so. Uranus retrograde suggests that over the last 5 months, something that is important to you may have made progress, but maybe you're still not quite sure. As the week begins, an excellent connection between Venus and Uranus suggests that there could be a connection or a communication with someone who helps to put your mind at rest. This may be someone that you can forge quite a profound relationship with. It could have a romantic dimension, but if you are drawn to someone at this time, I sense it's going to have to be an all-in situation, not necessarily a dalliance. And sometimes with Venus and Uranus, things can be fast-moving and not necessarily lasting. But the new moon, and particularly with Mercury applying to Pluto when it occurs, suggests that you're much more conscious of protectiveness around your situation, perhaps through Mars being in a retrograde in your sign. That said, as the week goes on, if you are wanting to do something quite enterprising or different, or book some kind of holiday, as Venus moves forwards to connect with Neptune and the North Node, an almost mystical connection could guide you who to go with or what destination to choose. But for sure, this week's center point is that 8th house energy. And just be aware that whatever does make way is always creating the space for something new to replace it. With Uranus going direct on Thursday, that's going to help you to feel much more on the front foot about demonstrating the most authentic but also individualistic side of your nature. So if you do decide to break free from something, it will be because you know at the very heart of your being that's the right thing, even if it doesn't seem to be the most logical thing. If you've yet to watch your deep dive February forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Leo, your week commences commencing the 27th of January forecast gives you an awesome opportunity to trigger a lot more connection to others. It could be socially with Jupiter in the mix. It could be around a key personal relationship. It may be around a business partnership. It could be that there's just going to be an uptick in activity with people already in your situation. But also because Venus, the planet of relating, is forging such a magical alliance to Neptune towards the end of this week. It's a shimmering alliance. If there is someone that your attraction to goes much deeper, it could be spiritual, it could be intimate. That also can start to evolve towards the end of this week. But professionally, Uranus has been asking you some big questions since March 2019. There may have been some changes, some disruption, some uncertainties, and that may have been unsettling. And also, since the start of September last year, it may have felt that even if you've been trying to evolve in a new or different way, things haven't really been going forwards at quite the pace you would like. By the end of this week, however, there is a fantastic opportunity to make the connection to others through your worldly interactions, but perhaps also to make that work financially too. And part of the magic of how this can evolve for you is because of your people skills. People could be naturally drawn to your warmth, your charisma, your personality power, and that will be manifestly much more obvious by the end of this week. But if you are wanting to step up your social interaction, have more time spent with others, sharing joint pursuits, the next month from the time of this week's new moon can certainly be a bright opportunity for you. If you've yet to watch your deep dive for February 2025, please see the link beneath this video. So Virgo, your week commencing the 27th of January is going to see an acceleration in the push for you to reform a part of your life that may have been quite comforting, but may be right for some kind of evolution. And it can be to do with your work. It can be to do with your lifestyle, your daily routines, your attitude or consumption of foods, drink, how much exercise you get. It can be where you want to achieve greater recognition for the hard work and application that you put into situations. You can often be one of the most diligent members of the zodiac. Now, Jupiter, the planet of opportunity, has been tracking backwards in your sector of worldly interaction, and that is going to come to a close at the start of next week. But Jupiter links into this week's new moon in an almost perfect way. And because the new moon itself is very much about those practicalities, but critically, Pluto, the planet of change, is applying in a conjunction to Mercury, your ruler. That's going to give you the impulse to try to go with the flow where change is calling out to you. Sometimes we can resist change because we want to stick with what we are familiar with, what we are comfortable with, but that can stifle us. But there's going to be another dimension this week which could surprise you, in that some of the alterations that are opening up for you potentially could also be through very positive alliances. Now, these don't have to be romantic, but it is possible that even in a romantic relationship, if a fairer share of the domestic load or a better understanding of the demands each of you have gets drawn out, that can improve the level of understanding, but equally harmony that evolves between you. But if you are single, it could be through a very ordinary or practical situation or through your work that you do encounter someone, particularly towards the end of this week, who just has something otherworldly about them, but you could find that in itself really quite tantalizing and exciting. Now, Uranus, the planet of change, has been pushing you since March 2019 to be more experimental. If you have resisted that, Now that Uranus goes direct this week, it's going to get easier to go with the flow if some alterations are calling out to you. But if you are someone who has been much more proactive about those changes, I feel this week's new moon gives you the chance to now make it all work together, to weave it into a pattern and a routine that works for you, because after all, that's something that ultimately you do feel comfortable with. If you've yet to watch your in-depth February deep dive forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Libra, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast certainly has some spectacular dazzle threaded through it. The new moon really gives you the chance to demonstrate to people your personality power, which can be turned up to max. If there is a social group that you want to become more part of, if there's something fresh and new that you want to begin that's creative, if there is someone on your celestial horizon that you're drawn towards romantically, this new moon has true potency. It also has Mercury, the planet of communication, very closely allied to Pluto, the planet of transformation. If you have ideas or enthusiasm, share them, because people will feel your conviction. But also over the last couple of years, I do feel that there has felt like you've had a lot of obligations, a lot of things that you've had to meet a demand around, but you can get a reward this week. It could even be financial. Now, part of that may be that you can rework your existing resources in some kind of innovative or imaginative way, as your ruler Venus angles with Uranus at the start of this week. But by the end of the week, Venus is connecting with both Neptune and the North Node. And if you have given of yourself to help others, even being quite self-sacrificing, some kind of karmic reward could emerge as this week draws to a close. If you have been experiencing some choppy water over your longer term finances, or perhaps an investment, you've been unsure whether it will go in the direction you want, there can be some better news this week, and particularly from Thursday when Uranus goes direct. But by the end of this week, that sacrifice that you've shown, the hard work that you put in, where you've dedicated yourself to something, possibly through your work, perhaps through a home hobby or a crafting interest, that can start to give you a real sense of satisfaction. This is also a great week, Libra, to combine flair with functionality. Perfect if you're any type of creative or artistic person. But if you do want to bring some extra colour and texture and life to your interactions with others, whether it's through a new interest group, a meetup, or perhaps even a date, this is a particular new moon which is very enriching indeed, because Jupiter, the planet of fortune, links into this event very productively, and by the end of this week is preparing to go direct. And Jupiter has been in a retrograde for the last 4 months, and even if there have been some things that you've wanted to widen your horizons around, there may have been some headwinds that haven't made it easy. But this week, the mood music and the energy generally is going to become much more productive and positive for you. If you've yet to watch your February deep dive monthly forecast, please see the link beneath this video. Scorpio, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast could still see you thinking about quite an intense exchange that occurred last week when Mars, your traditional ruler in its retrograde, went face to face with Mercury, the planet of communication. Perhaps there was a conversation that just became quite intense unexpectedly. Perhaps around a travel plan, there may have been something that happened rather fast that you're still thinking about. This week begins with Uranus, the planet of surprises in your sector of relating, actually forging a magical alliance to Venus. So even if there was some kind of excitement, it's possible it was also an attraction. Venus in the 5th house can be absolutely delightful and very romantic, but perhaps if there was a connection, it was fast moving. The only thing with Venus and Uranus, it isn't necessarily lasting. So you could have found yourself attracted to someone that maybe at some level you wouldn't normally be drawn to, or perhaps you don't totally like, but you may have still found them compelling company, and there may have been some kind of connection. However, as this week goes on, it becomes very much more about how you feel about things. The new moon is also going to see your other ruler, Pluto, in the mix. Now, Mercury, the planet of communication, is very close to Pluto. If there is something delicate that you've been struggling to discuss or share over the next month, this set of influences certainly gives you a lot of encouragement. Also, Jupiter, which can be about the big picture, has been tracking backwards over the last 4 months, but feeds into this new moon in a really constructive way. If you're trying to do anything around a property situation, expect to picking up in pace. Uranus also goes direct on Thursday. If you have felt rather changeable about what you want from your love life or other relationships over the last 5 months, things should ease, and by the end of this week, even if last week had that frisson of perhaps maybe a disagreement even, there's a great opportunity by the end of this week to reach a position of equanimity, to share how you feel, perhaps have even a magical connection, and that could be something that really gives you a lot of sense of peace and tranquility. Now, if you're someone who loves to entertain at home, that also could be something that calls out to you, not just this week, but over the next week too. But with that conjunction between Venus, Neptune and the North Node, as this week draws to a close, whoever you're close to, whoever you feel really comfortable with, whoever you can really be yourself with, whether it's playful, a bit silly, but also share how you feel, those are the people that are going to call out to you this week, Scorpio, and for the next 3 or 4 weeks too. If you've yet to watch your February monthly deep dive forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Sagittarius, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast suggests your words can take on even greater value over the next month on the back of the new moon. But it's not just the things that you believe in, it's actually the way that you express your ideas as well. You're going to find that people are a lot more receptive to what you have to say, because your ruler Jupiter links so magically to this new moon, and Jupiter is in the part of your chart to do with your connections. Now, that's been in a long retrograde for the last 4 months. That's coming to a close by the end of this week. But Uranus, the planet which has been causing some disruption around the everyday parts of your life, your work, your routines, full-time since March 2019, that also ends a retrograde on Thursday. But at the start of this week, Uranus forges a terrific angle to Venus. This could give you something of a brainwave when it comes to your home. Maybe how to adapt your space and room, always important to Sagittarians, but maybe you're going to come up with a fresh idea to something that seemed a little bit stuck. But as the week goes on and Venus advances, the energy of Saturn, which has been so manifest over the last couple of years and perhaps made your home and emotional life challenging at times, certainly asked you to be very disciplined. That's blessed as Venus links up with Neptune and the North Node. And if you are wanting to bring a greater sense of peace and tranquility to the root of your existence, that will certainly help. But with that electric energy from that new moon, and also the conjunction between Mercury and Pluto, if you have got ideas you want to express, then this can be an excellent time to share them, because, as I say, people are going to be much more receptive to what you say. But I feel that you can link your ideas to a great deal of intuition and sensitivity too, and that's just going to make you even more effective but also other people even more receptive. Have a great week, Sagittarius. If you've yet to watch your in-depth February deep dive monthly forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Capricorn, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast sees the sparkling energy of Uranus in a very charismatic link to Venus, the planet of relating, but also the planet of money. But it's in your third house, which is about quick conversations. There may have been something that emerged towards the end of last week that really was intriguing. It could have been around a business offer, but it may have been around a social connection. But if there was some kind of spark between you and another person, it can really give you a sense of uplift as you come into this week. Now, as the week goes on, Uranus goes direct after retracing its steps for 5 months. So if your love life or even your creative output has felt a little bit blighted or disrupted over that period, that could ease. But also Venus goes on to align with both Neptune and the North Node. Now this is a potentially very fated and magical possibility. Don't underestimate just what your ideas, the way you express them, or your personality, just don't underestimate how that can impact on somebody you encounter. But the new moon at the heart of this week is definitely very much about the potential to think about resources, money, self-worth and values. And because on the same day, Mercury, the planet of commerce, links with Pluto in your second house, if you are someone who's wanting to improve the foundations of your situation, the next month do give you a great opportunity to focus your intentions and make sure that the momentum that's important to you can start to evolve. But this is a new moon that's blessed by the energy of the planet of fortune, Jupiter. But Jupiter is retrograde. It does come to the end of that by the end of this week. It goes direct on the Monday following this week. However, Jupiter for you is in the part of your situation which is very much to do with practicalities, and therefore that can be jobs. So if you are intent on what you want to achieve, you're clear on what you can offer, your self-worth, the ability to convey what you're about is really given a huge boost by those Pisces energies. So this could be a week which, as it comes to a close, sees some kind of major breakthrough that really gives you a greater sense of security, but also peace of mind. If you've yet to watch your in-depth February deep dive forecast, please see the link beneath this video. Aquarius, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast can be awesomely influential. Uranus, your modern ruler, goes direct on Thursday after retracing its steps for 5 months. If you have encountered frustrations around property or where you live, or your sense of personal space has felt compromised at times, that energy of limitation can ease. Also, Uranus forges a great link to Venus, the planet of money, but also relating at the start of this week. Is there a new development that's going to spark for you? It could be financial, it may be to do with your home. This would be a great opportunity, the connection between these two at the start of this week, to create some more physical space. And one of the ways you could do that would be to release possessions that no longer serve your greater good. Now that can also bring in some money. But one of the themes of this week, which is not so much about the new moon in your sign, is the energy developing in Pisces, because Saturn has been quite the aggravant over the last couple of years, and at times you may have felt a little bit low about your sense of self-worth and value. Also, finances may have experienced a headwind, but by the end of this week, just a series of unplanned synchronicities could actually see you feel an awful lot better. You're going to find that some people really will celebrate what makes you different. And of course, the new moon can help that for sure. And because Uranus, your modern ruler, goes direct on Thursday, but the new moon on Wednesday links to Jupiter, the planet of opportunity, That's also coming to the end of its retrograde, which has lasted the last 4 months, and by the end of this week prepares to go direct. But Jupiter's in the part of your horoscope to do with your love life, your creative talents, and your personality power. So the link to the Sun and the Moon together, along with Mercury applying to Pluto in your sign, together suggests that the opportunity to be really clear about what you want to achieve as an individual and be less concerned about how other people view you has never been greater. Because to be honest, Aquarius, the new moon in your sign is the Sun's weakest position of all the new moons, because the Sun in Aquarius is detrimented. That's because the Sun rules your opposite sign of Leo. But Leo is very much about the individual. You have a great gift for respecting people's quirks and differences, yet still finding ways to collaborate, yet at the same time you have the parts of yourself that stand tall and shine out as being absolutely different. So this is a particular new moon which can give you a lot of confidence, but it's that energy manifesting in Pisces which I feel by the end of this week can see you convert any fresh start or any new energy you inject into an ongoing plan in a fresh way. And although Saturn is in the mix and Saturn can be limiting, I think what Venus and Saturn can also say to you is it's important to make sure that even if conditions have been tricky, do consider how you've persevered. And because Saturn is your traditional ruler, you may be much more successful at sticking out things that are tough and difficult than ever you acknowledge. And by the end of this week, I feel that you should really stand tall and be conscious of just how much you have achieved, even if the circumstances have been quite challenging. So if you want to now power forwards in a fresh way, an exciting way, start something different, or inject more energy into an ongoing strand that's important to you, you're going to start to now see the rewards. Have a great week, Aquarius. If you've yet to watch your deep dive for February, please see the link beneath this video. Pisces, your week commencing the 27th of January forecast does see that new moon in your 12th house. 12th house new moons can be complex. They can bring matters to the surface which may be rather uncomfortable to look at. Things that are to do with our past, to do with things that maybe are painful, can be to do with our concerns. It may be to do with our dreams. The more psychological side of life very much to the fore. But this is a new moon with a difference, because Mercury is applying to Pluto also in Aquarius. So actually, if you embrace the opportunity to do some deep dives, you could actually make sense of a lot of historical stuff by gaining some fresh perspectives. Now, Venus this week is going to be pretty close to Saturn. Saturn has been potentially lowering your energy over the last couple of weeks, but Venus forges a fantastic link with Uranus as you come into this week. Don't underestimate just how amusing, but also how much personality power you can emanate and who might be attracted to you. But because that 12th house energy in Aquarius, they might not necessarily tell you. So look out for somebody's body language. They could signal through that their intent. But as the week goes on, Venus meets up with Neptune and also the North Node. And that part of you that can be very compassionate but also hugely instinctive is really given a massive boost. Whatever decisions you're making at the moment, whatever you're thinking about, just be aware that your traditional ruler Jupiter, which has been tracking backwards for 4 months, is set to go direct on the Monday following this one. And that's been located in the part of your chart to do with your feelings, to do with your home, to do with family life. You may have been going through something of a review already, but the new moon links to Jupiter. But I feel that that link can provide a lot of illumination in understanding your deeper motivations, but also your deeper needs, but also to decode how someone has perhaps been to you, and it may be someone who's no longer in your life. Or if there is someone around you that you're not quite sure of how sincere or honest, or perhaps even invested in you as you'd like to know, Jupiter preparing to go direct is going to reveal more early next week. But I feel the combination of Venus, which is exalted in your sign, along with Neptune and the North Node, suggests that you can start to make sense of something which has been tricky, but the understanding that you gain can actually provide a lot of reassurance. And even if at this particular time you may not necessarily want to socialize that much, or if you do, perhaps only in very familiar places or with people you're really feeling safe with, by the end of this week your inner journey will be clarified. And because Saturn has been quite the inhibitor over the last couple of years, I think you're working with that energy, which has been asking you really to concentrate on what's truly essential for you. So for example, if you're a creative person, and Pisces people often can, those energies are going to be palpable by the end of this week, but you still may enjoy having some time to yourself to really work with those. So if you don't necessarily feel like meeting up with friends or doing a presentation or getting in touch with someone to chase something, that's fine, because this is a time that can be very productive, but perhaps in a more sensitive, delicate and maybe even inward way for now. For this weekly in-depth video for week commencing the 27th of January, please do check out my special offer beneath this video. You get 50% off for your forecast, but also your life roadmap. Or you can choose to have a one-to-one with me or a video reading too. Please see the links below for more.